The Sacred Wellness Alchemy Show, a space for healing, growth, and transformation, where you reclaim your power, remember who you are, and live abundantly ever after. Peace and blessings, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Sacred Wellness Alchemy Show. I'm Giovanna Tisdale, the Sacred Wellness Alchemist. I'm an energy healing practitioner, body worker, spiritual healer, intuitive tarot reader, and coach, and your host. This show is all about healing, growth, and learning how to truly thrive after life's challenges. Here you'll get to hear my real stories, lived experiences, and the wisdom I've gathered through healing trauma, navigating toxic relationships, rebuilding my life, and consciously manifesting the love, life, and abundance I desire and deserve. Let's get started on this episode of the Sacred Wellness Alchemy Show. I am grateful to gather with you today as we reflect, heal, and remind each other that the journey to coming back home to ourselves can be a little bit messy, but it is always sacred. I want to talk to you about when spirit speaks to us through everyday life and hearing what spirit says and trusting our intuition. So let's get into it. It's quiet right now, and I'm hoping the baby does not wake up so I can record this episode. I'm really excited about it. Let me start by sharing this quick story with you, right? I was talking to my dad, kind of complaining because I really have not had the space or really the perfect setup that I want in order to work out and really dive into my fitness goals the way that I want to. It's been so hot outside that I haven't been able to get out for walks as much, even though I try to go either early in the morning or late at night, which it's about 2 o'clock now. And sometimes I'll go out for a walk because it's a lot cooler and the sun is not sucking the life out of me. But I've been irritated about it because I am currently in somewhat of closed quarters. And there just isn't a lot of physical space for me to roll out a yoga mat or just really work out. So I have been doing some stand-up things, but I really want to do other things. And it just makes me feel limited. And then that annoys me, right? Because I'm all about expansion and growth. So I was talking to my dad about it and he was just listening and allowed me to get it all out. And he said something so simple. He was like, all you got to do is move some stuff around. No matter if it's hot, cold, raining, or whatever, you can still get it done. And I know it makes so much sense and it's really easy. But honestly, I was annoyed at first. I'm like, if it's that easy, why am I not doing it? What's stopping me from making the space for something I already know grounds me and really makes me feel good? But I know also that he was right. And it really hit me. If I can do it, why am I resisting it? So I started diving deeper into the resistance. Why was I getting so stuck focusing on the challenge of not having enough space, the weather being out of control or not ideal, instead of just doing the thing I know that helps me reach my goal and brings me closer into alignment with my sacred self. So I had went on out for a walk because it was later in the evening. And as I was walking, his words echoed back to me, but it felt different. It was more than just advice coming from my dad. And interestingly enough, this month I pulled an oracle card and it was focus on your body, move your body, health and fitness. And so that's been a core theme for me, is to really focus on my physical health and well-being. So with that in mind, and then going for my walk, when those words landed back on to me again, I knew it was coming from spirit. That was a lesson that I could have very easily missed by letting my ego get in the way. And I thought about how many times do we ignore clear and simple guidance, no matter the source, whether it comes from a loved one, a random stranger, or just an internal nudge. When there's something that's I should get up and do the thing. I should read this book. Oh, I should go here. I should take care of this. And we don't do it because either we're too busy, we're too annoyed, or we're too stuck on how hard it seems, or we just ignore it and be whatever, it's not that serious. I can do it later. And so it got me thinking about all the other times that I may have ignored direction or spiritual guidance. There were times that I, took jobs that I knew were not for me because I felt like I should, or, staying in relationships, whether it's friendship, intimate partnership, out of hope or comfort, even when the energy felt off. Befriending or partnering with people when my gut knew that it was not aligned. And it made me think also, like, what if the people, the situations, or that random advice that pops up in our lives is spirit moving through them? Would that make us resist less and listen more? So, thinking about being in a relationship with someone that maybe isn't acting right or isn't treating you the way that you want to be treated, oftentimes we take that sometimes as a challenge or just as negative information based on maybe their tone, or like, why would this person come and say that to me? Like, we can take things completely differently than just receiving the information. And I think when my dad said what he said, I could have taken offense to that, or, just went left off on a tangent, or, like, but his tone or anything wasn't indicative of that, but I could have taken it completely differently than just simply receiving the information. And I feel like because I received it without reacting, I received it in a way that was open and thoughtful. Then once I was able to go out on my walks, which are meditative, I see them as a spiritual and physical practice, and it really grounds me. It helps me open up with my intuitive channel. It's peaceful. I love being outside and in nature. It's how I come back home to myself. And like I said, I was walking and then his words popped up. And I knew right then, like, okay, that was a message from spirit. And spirit was speaking through him when he initially said it, and it landed, but it didn't really anchor in to the point where I truly got the message. And so, because I was able to receive it, once I was able to connect in sacred space, spirit confirmed it. Like, yes, okay, girl, it's going to be some extra work, but you're going to get the results. One of the tarot readers that I like on YouTube, I believe his channel is Menopon Tarot, if I'm not mistaken. He always uses this analogy that you pray for cake, and then you get the flour, the eggs, the sugar, the oil, you get the ingredients, and then you complain that you don't have cake. Like, we still have to put in the work. The cake is not going to make itself. We have to mix the ingredients together. And that's the key, because faith without works is dead. You have to put in the work. Even when you go to spirit with a petition, you have to bring an offering. Everything in this world, physical or energetic, is an exchange with either energy, time, money, presence. There's always an exchange of ideas or information um, in order for that to occur, something has to happen, something has to be done. So I was just really grateful. And I know it is so simple. And it's something that I felt like I know, but I needed to hear it, because definitely in these postpartum days, like, things have been a little choppy. There have been times when I found myself kind of stuck in a rut and not able to get into my usual rhythms and flows of, like, my spiritual practices, my daily body movement and things like that. So, there have been waves of up and downs, but I know when I maintain those daily rituals and when I move my body and journal and connect with spirit, when I'm doing my readings, when I'm learning, when I'm doing the things that nourish me, it makes a difference. It makes me feel good, and that prevents me from allowing those waves or those ups and downs and challenges to, like, wash me away. I'm able to be anchored and grounded in who I am. And I always approach what I do as a lifelong learner, never thinking that I'm above anyone else. I'm not a guru. I do know what I know, but I also know that there's still so much I can learn and things that I don't know. And there are still elements of my life where I'm still healing and growing and working on thriving and striving, continuing to strive towards living my abundantly ever after also. So I just wanted to share that, and hope that it lands in your spirit as well as it did in mine. And the other aspect of that I was touching on before is, what if we start to see people's actions or behaviors, or the things that they say, or do, as spirit moving through them? That way we're not taking things personally, and it just shows you what frequency or vibration, or what type of spirit is within them. And I think that's very important. In today's society, we really don't necessarily learn to use our intuition and discernment when it comes to the things, people, places, situations that we interact or encounter. And we need to, because spiritual warfare is at an all-time high. There is a lot of frequencies, opinions, thoughts, ideas being directed at us at all times. And it's all too easy to connect with something, a person, an ideology, that's not truly in alignment for you. And most of the time, we see who they are and what it is, and we kind of know whether or not it is truly for us, but we typically ignore that little whisper. Because I remember, for me as a little girl, being told, don't judge people, or because I'll be like, I don't, I don't like them, or being characterized as shy because I didn't want to interact with certain people when I was responding to them energetically. We told we're being picky, or we're being judgmental, or you have to give this person a chance, or you have to play with them because that's my best friend's child, and y'all got to play together even if you don't like them. So it's just very, very interesting. And I remember being very young, being able to read people, knowing, who was a good person, who wasn't, if they were happy in a relationship, if someone was cheating. Like, I could really read people. I knew what they were thinking, how they were feeling. So when we did go into those spaces, when I had to interact with a lot of people, if I closed myself off, it was for a reason. And I'm still like that to this day. Like, I'm like, something don't feel right over here, so I'm not going to open myself up to it. So then I was labeled again as shy because I didn't want to talk or interact with people. And that became an identity that I adopted as I got older. And I was like, oh, well, I'm just shy. So if I was nervous or feeling a certain way or not being good with crowds, it was because I was shy, not because maybe I was responding to the energy and did not know how to navigate it at that time. Being older now, definitely, I got it. I can do it. So, and I also feel like as I got older, there was a period of time when I was not as in connection with my intuition. It never left. It was always there, but I did have to kind of relearn how to hear, how to see, how to sense, and really trust my intuition. And I think that's because we're kind of taught not to trust our gut or whatever, intuitive nudges that we receive, because as children, we're not expected to know what's better, and sometimes we're forced into situations by the adults around us, or by the authoritative figures around us, to have to do things that we instinctively feel is not good, and that can teach us not to trust ourselves and default to other people's guidance, in a sense. So I did do that work and really work to reconnect and develop a strong relationship with my higher self, my intuition, my spiritual team. And so I was able to have that communication and really trust in that again. And what I think is important is knowing that when we start to move with knowledge of ourselves and spirit of a thing or a person, and we lean into our values, that protects us. Because we often get in trouble when we settle or we accept something because we need it right then. I remember some years back, I was looking for a place to move into, and I had very specific requirements. And I wrote it out, a list, like where I wanted it, how much land, how much space. And it did check off a lot of the major boxes. But there was a little nudge around it, like where I should have waited. But because it seemed perfect, right? It checked off the major boxes. I just went with it, right? And had I been patient and didn't move through it so quickly, I would have seen that it wasn't truly right for me, because over a course of a couple of years, like as time went on, as I was living there, I started seeing more and more like this was not really good. And it wound up disrupting a lot of things for me. So I've learned for myself that it's important to slow down and truly listen, especially like when it comes to taking jobs or, dealing with coworkers, things like that, where you think, oh, maybe I'm just being judgmental. Maybe I should give them a chance, and then wind up shooting yourself in the foot because you didn't listen to that nudge or that guidance that you were giving. And then we can find ourselves in spirals, especially with relationships where we have invested so much time, energy, and resources into something that we develop with someone. And then we have this attachment that makes it hard to let go, even when we know deep down in our core, in our bones, that it ain't no good. So it's important to move in alignment with your sacred self and to live in alignment with your values, because your values are always going to be connected to your sacred self or your higher self. And through that channel will inform your intuition and help you have the discernment to know what's good for you, what isn't, when to say yes, and when you need to say no. So asking, learning to trust your intuition, asking for discernment, whether it's through prayer or meditation or journaling before you make a decision, choosing to seek higher counsel, and then trusting what you receive. That's another important thing, because sometimes we get the guidance and then we don't trust it because it's not what we want to hear. And so trusting what you receive, even if it's a no, even if it's something far fetched, just that, just trust in it. Like, hey, let me know if this is right for me. And if it's a no, it's a no. If it's a not right now, let that be. If it's yes, move with it. But whatever you do receive, you need to trust it, because there's a lot of shape shifting going on. There's a lot of illusions. And so something can present as, yes, this is perfect. This is great, because we didn't do the work. And every time, I know for me personally, every time I have known beforehand there was something a little bit off, but I'm like, oh, I'm just tripping, or I'm just being judgmental. So anytime I feel that, like if that happens and I'm like, oh, I'm just tripping, that's my signal to stop and like wait, observe, seek guidance before moving forward. There's a lot that makes us, feels like this is great, but it really isn't what you thought it was. So when we're able to trust ourselves, we can avoid a lot of mishaps and stay in alignment with the frequency of love, of abundance, truth, harmony, and inner peace, and all the things that Sacred Wellness Alchemy is and represents. Because spirit doesn't always speak in loud ways. Usually when I get those blaring intuitive nudges or intuitive guidance or visions, it's like a protection thing, like there's a real danger. But oftentimes it's a whisper, it's a knowing, it's a little nudge, a little glimmer, and it uses real life. It uses situations around us, songs, music, like there's animals, clouds, the people around us, even our babies, to show us what we may not be able to see or hear for ourselves. So it will show up through the people around us. And especially when thinking about relationships, if we start to see this person's not moving in alignment with me, it's because their spirit is not aligned. And so the divine is showing you this is not for you. But a lot of times we keep going and we keep trying to work at it. Well, if this person just grows and if this person just changes, but oftentimes they're not willing or ready to, because that's what's being expressed through them. So when we look at it as a spiritual or energetic thing, we can disconnect from it and say, okay, it's not this person that just doesn't love me or is incapable of being a decent human. Like they're operating on a different frequency. It takes blame and shame and guilt and embarrassment away and allows you just to kind of look at things a little more objectively and say, we don't have the same spirit, we don't have the same values. And it makes it a little easier to release. Like we've got to trust what we're being shown through people, even when it's not pretty, easy, or packaged up in a bow. So just remember that everything in life is an exchange, everything is energetic. or spiritual in nature. And we're starting to see this more and more. Science is finally like coming around to proving and understanding that also. When we settle or override or don't trust our intuition, I've learned that that lesson will circle back. It may show up in a different person, in a different job, but it's going to come back again until we kind of learn or master it, or not even learn or master it, but be able to recognize it and be like, oh, okay, I know this. I don't have to walk across this bridge this time. I can take a different pathway. When you move with the knowledge of spirit and your sacred self and ask for guidance and trust, that is where you find your abundantly ever after. That is what's going to be like your yellow brick road that's going to lead you to the life that you want. And that's the other thing I wanted to connect this to. I believe, and so I call it our sacred self, right? It is our spiritual essence. It is the version of us that was initially created before the world filled us with these roles and identities and these traumatic experiences and told us who and what we could be. You had a vision for yourself as a child of the type of person that you wanted to be, of the type of life you wanted to have, the type of car, the job, like the, whatever it is. You had a particular vision for your life that came from source. That was planted in you. It was encoded in you. And that's what is the essence of your sacred self, who you were meant to be in this lifetime. And so our intuition is always trying to guide us to that aspect of ourselves, to that life that we dream of, which I call living abundantly ever after. It's being able to experience an abundance of whatever it is you desire in your life. And when we trust our intuition, it puts us back on that path. And even if we don't, maybe we just veer off the path and we take the road less traveled. Maybe it has a little more bumps and obstacles and hills and rocks, and it's steep and rocky and a little scary, but that still puts you back on to your particular path. And so the more that you trust yourself, the more that you show up as your authentic self, the more that you build up your confidence, your boundaries, your identity, the connection to your sacred self, all of these things, right? The more that you reclaim who you are, the more that you come back home to yourself, the more you align with who you were truly designed and created to be. And that is what Sacred Wellness Alchemy is all about. It's about coming back home to yourself. So I am going to leave this here, and I thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for letting me share what is on my heart. And if this landed for you, I would love for you to tag me or message me, share with me any reflections that you have. If you have a lesson that spirit continues to send your way, or notice in the same way where maybe you're learning to trust. And also just keep showing up for yourself. Keep tuning in to those whispers and the words from those who you love. And even when you don't want to hear it, there is always, always, always a message there. And it's showing us something, and we just have to learn to discern what it is. So continue to be blessed and stay well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Giovanna, the Sacred Wellness Alchemist. If you're curious about how Sacred Wellness Alchemy can support you, or if you have a question about your unique journey, I would love to hear from you. You can ask anything. You can share a confession or a challenge over at JiovannaTisdale.com/ask, because your story matters. And I want to help you create clarity, healing, and inspired next steps. I will see you next time. Peace. As we close, take a moment to come back into your body, noticing your breath, and feel where you are right now. Thank you for being here with me. This is the Sacred Wellness Alchemy Show, where we heal, grow, thrive, and live abundantly ever after. Peace.